I believe that books will never disappear, is an interview with Borges. He faced blindness. Despite being blind, he remains to be passionate for literature. He defends the eternal nature of the book against modern technological advancements. The interview is between the Argentinian writer, Jorge Luis Borges, and Roberto Alifano. The first question asked by Roberto Alifano to Borges is, what was his first literary reading? Borges answers by recalling his first reading to be an English version of Grimm's fairy tales. He believed that his education came more from his father's library than from the formal schooling in high school or at the university. Second question. Could they talk about Dona Leonor, his mother? He describes her as an extraordinary, kind, intelligent, and gracious woman who had no enemies. Borges confesses to feeling a sense of guilt regarding his mother. He says that he could not give her the happiness she deserved because he himself was not a happy man. He extends this personal feeling into a universal observation, suggesting that all children, in their youth, take their mothers for granted, as much like children do with the unchanging presence of the sun or moon. Later in life only, children realize the full extent of their mother's unconditional love, and their own failure to appreciate it only realize after she has passed away or dead. Third question. Alifano apologetically asked Borges to forgive him for asking what blindness meant to him. In response, Borges explains that he views blindness as a way of life that is not entirely unhappy. He states his belief that a writer and all people should consider whatever happens to them to be a resource. According to Borges, all things are given to us for a purpose, and also things, including misfortunes and embarrassments, are given to us as raw material, or clay, which artists can use to shape their art. Fourth question. Alifano states, a quote by Homer wrote in the Odyssey, "The gods wrought and spun the skein of ruin for men, that there might be a song for those yet to be born." Borges agrees with the idea that suffering can be a source of art. He explains that, in one of his poems, he states that humiliation, misfortune, and discord were given to humans to be transmuted into eternal works. He then recalls a verse by Goethe, "All's nahe wird fern," all that is near becomes far, which he interprets as a reference not only to a sunset, but also to the nature of life, where all things eventually leave us. He reflects on his own loss of sight, noting that, while the visible world has moved away from his eyes, it has been replaced by other things that he accepts and enjoys. He continues to pretend he is not blind by still buying books and filling his house with them. In next question, Alifano proposed a theme for their discussion: the theme of books. In response, Borges recounted a strange dream he had the previous night. He dreamed of a great library burning, which he believed might have been the Library of Alexandria, with countless volumes consumed by flames. He then wondered if the dream held any meaning. In next part, Alifano asked Borges if he had ever considered writing a book on the history of the book, suggesting that he owed his readers such a book to be written. Borges replied that he had not, but considered it an excellent idea and wonderful to write. However, he expressed doubt about taking on such a project at 83 years old. Borges then recalled that Spengler had written remarkable comments on books in his work, The Decline of the West. In next question, Alifano asked Borges, "In one of your essays, you quote the words of Bernard Shaw. Every book worth being reread has been written by the Spirit." Borges responded by agreeing completely with that notion. He explained that a book goes beyond its author's intention, which he considered a meager thing, a fallible thing. According to Borges, every book needs something more, something mysterious. He believed that when someone reads an ancient book, it is as though they are reading all of the time that has passed from the day it was written to our present day. He concluded by saying that a book can be full of errors, and people may reject its author's opinions, but it always retains something sacred, immortal, and magical which brings happiness. In next part, Alifano asked what is poetry and how would he define it. Borges responded by stating that poetry is something so intimate and essential that it cannot be defined without oversimplifying it. He likened the task to attempting to define the color yellow, love, or the falling of leaves in autumn. Borges defined poetry as the aesthetic act, that poetry is not the poem, for the poem may be nothing more than a series of symbols. He believes the poetic act that takes place when the poet writes it and, when the reader reads it, this always happens in a slightly different manner. He added that this poetic act is a magical, mysterious, and unexplainable event that is not incomprehensible. According to Borges, if the poetic event is not felt upon reading, the poet has failed. Alifano asked Borges that finding the precise words is what is important in the art of poetry. Borges agreed, explaining that those precise words are what elicit emotion. As an example, he recalled a line from a poem by Emily Dickinson. This quiet dust was gentlemen and ladies. Borges noted that the idea of death turning people to dust is a cliché, but the specific phrase, gentlemen and ladies, provides the magic and poetic quality. He suggested that if she had written men and women, it would have failed as poetry and been trivial, but her choice of precise words made the line successful. Alifano asked Borges to expand on his concept that metaphors have existed since the beginning of time. Borges replied that he believes metaphors, if they are truly metaphors, have existed since the beginning of time. He noted that people express them differently and that he has occasionally considered reducing all metaphors to 5 or 6 he considers essential. Alifano then asked Borges what those metaphors were. Borges responded that the essential metaphors found in all literatures are time and a river, life and dreams, death and sleep, stars and eyes, and flowers and women. He added that a poet's task is to discover metaphors, even if they already exist, and that there are other metaphors that are whimsical. Alifano in the next question asked Borges what he thought of the idea that modern developments in communications would replace books with something more dynamic, requiring less time than reading. Borges responded by stating his belief that books will never disappear. He considered the book to be the most astounding of man's many inventions, noting that other inventions are extensions of the body. For example, the telephone extends our voice, the telescope and microscope extend our sight, and the sword and plough extend our arms. In contrast, Borges argued, the book is unique because it is an extension of our imagination and memory. Alifano noted that in a memorable passage, Borges stated that literature is a dream. Borges affirmed the statement, clarifying that literature is a controlled dream. He went on to say that humanity owes literature almost everything, both what they are and what they have been, as well as what they will be. Borges argued that the past is nothing but a sequence of dreams, and there is no difference between dreaming and remembering the past. He described books as the great memory of all centuries and their function as irreplaceable, concluding that if books were to disappear, history and man would surely disappear as well.